Okay, he said I can control your will. I'm just hoping I can control the slides today. Let's see. Okay, I'm going to assume this is on. Let's give it a try. So, oh, by the way, there are lately zombies in Iceland. Just last year they moved. There's a book been written about them called Zombie Iceland, if you can believe it. But anyhow, what I came to tell you was that 3 years ago, it first became possible for ordinary software developers to develop computer and smartphone applications which use brain data. Now, I mean, I think this is really interesting. I actually do believe that this is not a false start. I think this is the beginning of the long-awaited path toward a time when brains and computers will be able to communicate fluidly. Now, there's no question that this is at least as scary as it is thrilling, and I'm sure there's a range of opinions here in the audience. But in any case, what I came to do today is to give you a quick guide as to how you can use brain data in your applications really today. And after that, I'll let a few of you try to bend the spoons to save yourself from the zombie. So first, let's all get very clear on what this brain data is, where it comes from. Your brain cells, I should say, operate electrically, and their activity sums up to form an electric field which can be measured at the surface of your skull. The technique for measuring this activity, which some of you probably know, is called EEG, or electroencephalography, was developed first in the early 20th century and has been advancing ever since, but pretty much only in hospitals and research laboratories. You should all be clear, though, that up to the present state of the art, EEG will neither tell you what you're thinking or how you're feeling. This is no doubt very much a relief to some of you and very disappointing to some of you. Well, okay, what can we do with EEG data today? There are three main approaches which are applied by today's brain-computer interfaces. The first is to divide up that electric field into different bandwidths. And you actually might have heard the names of these bandwidths before. They're called alpha, beta, gamma, delta, theta. And over the decades, through research, each of these wavebands has become associated with something that you could call a state of mind. So, for example, alpha waves are associated with being awake and relaxed, but with your eyes closed. Beta waves are associated with the activity of normal consciousness. Gamma waves with concentration, delta waves with the deepest stages of sleep, and theta waves with drowsiness. Some people say meditative states, but at least I'll vouch for drowsiness. Now, the second major approach used is to look for P300 features in the electric wave, which occur in response to visual items which catch your attention. The P300 is a small positive fluctuation in the electric field, which occurs about 300 milliseconds after you see that thing which caught your attention. And it might have caught your attention because something about it was interesting, you were primed to be interested in that thing, or because you were not expecting it. Now, the third major approach is to record what are called steady-state visual evoked potentials, which occur in response to looking at blinking visual stimuli. So the nice thing is that if you have a stimulus which is blinking at X hertz, in response will occur a steady-state visual evoked potential, which also fluctuates at X hertz. So what you do if you want to make a program where you type with your mind or you dial your phone with your mind, you just put each letter or number on a different button, and you make each button blink at a different frequency. Then, by recording the steady-state visual evoked potentials, you know which button you're looking at, that the user is looking at. And presumably the user is looking at the button that he or she wants to press. So that's how those programs are written. So, again, just quickly to review, the three major approaches reveal these three major things from brain data today. something about your state of mind, something about what's catching your attention at the moment, or what you weren't expecting, and if you're looking at something blinking, what you were looking at. All of this is pretty obviously still a far cry from having a computer be able to sort of parse your thoughts, wills, and desire, intentions. But they are, however, these measures are, however, used in 4 ways, I would say, 4 major ways today in brain-controlled applications. The first is the control paradigm, so dial your phone with your mind. The second thing you can do is quite different. You could learn something about yourself by monitoring how any of these measures change in response to external factors like the time of day or an activity you're engaged in, like giving a talk in front of hundreds of people. So, I would be interested in seeing what's happening to my relaxation and concentration at this moment, for example. You could extend this idea so that the software not only monitors how these measures are changing, but it also notifies you if these measures get into an interesting zone. Like, for example, maybe you're working and your monitoring software notes that your concentration level is not so good. So it tells you, you might not be being as productive right now as you think you are. Maybe you should back off, take a break, go do something about this. The fourth and final, and for me the most interesting paradigm is the idea of taking a mental faculty which you want to train in yourself and making that the control for software, because the reaction of the software then gives you feedback as to visual and audio feedback as to how well you're doing with that control. I think that's very helpful. That's taking something that's sort of invisible, that's kind of hard to believe in, that you have control over, and making it visible. And I think that process makes it easier to train these things. Okay, so we have three measures, 4 ways to use those measures, but what on earth are you going to record the brain data with? Well, if you want to make a smartphone solution today, there's only one commercially available solution so far, which is in the upper right corner, the NeuralSky MindWave Mobile. The MindWave Mobile records from one spot on your forehead, and for that spot, tells you how the electric field is changing. It also tells you the power values in the alpha, beta, gamma, delta, theta wave bands, as well as the values of 2 functions they define called relaxation and concentration. In the lower left corner here is the emotive epoch, which is the other currently available brain-computer interface solution for normal developers like us. The emotive has 14 recording sensors as opposed to NeuralSky's 1. So yes, you get more information. There is a trade-off, though, which is that the emotive is more difficult to put on. The emotive doesn't currently offer official compatibility with smartphone platforms, but I know that there are several projects out there where a connection has been hacked. So that could be an option for you. There are several other companies which are promising soon upcoming brain-computer interface solutions. I'm just going to highlight 2. In the upper left is Austrian company G-Tech. Later this year, they're slated to come out with a system that's in the picture called the SOCI. This is a platform for controlling software with your mind, and it works, as far as I'm aware, with the blinking button method that I talked about earlier. Then, in the lower right corner is a solution, a German solution I'd love to know much more about. The company is called 4D Force. They're developing a headset to control games with the mind. I don't know what controls they're using. If any of you know more than me, please come and tell me afterward. I would love to know. All right, so now you know what you can record the brain data with. Let's talk briefly about what's going to happen in the next 5 years. Quite frankly, the next 5 years are going to be defined by the need to overcome fundamental technical obstacles. The EEG signal is very faint, And this gives rise to at least two issues. The first is that it's always difficult to separate that signal coming from the brain with the electrical signals caused by your facial muscles, which can range from being on the order of the same strength to 1,000 times stronger than the brain signal. The other problem is this faint brain signal is very vulnerable to the user's motion. So, you can turn your head and lose the signal. Obviously not great, especially for brain smartphone applications. Therefore, I should say also that these problems do make conventional EEG researchers skeptical of today's consumer brain-computer interfaces. So therefore, what must come in the next 5 years? We need to develop better mathematical methods, both to isolate better the EEG signal from the muscle signal, but as, or more importantly, to extract more information about what's going on in our brain from fewer recording sensors. Why? Because when you have fewer recording sensors, you have fewer degrees of freedom to worry about when you're designing headgear. So that means that you have a better chance of making headgear that stays very nicely with the head when the head moves, so that you get a more steady EEG signal. Then, of course, fewer sensors means that it should be easier to, you should be able to, the headgear that results should be easier to wear, it should be more comfortable. And above all, if you want mass consumer adoption, which you do because you're building software and you need somebody to buy it, the headgear should look like something that the target users would want to be seen in public in. So you might have noticed, actually, that most of the, if you look at the 3 measures I talked about and the 4 approaches, they lend themselves, most of them lend themselves better to applications which deal with, which allow the user to learn about himself or herself, rather than to fluidly control machines. And that goes very well with the vision of my company. Mind Games, at Mind Games, we want to make, or we do make, video games where you train, thank you, okay, where you, which offer a fun way to train yourself in mental faculties that you want to train. And our first line of products are iOS games. I think they're the first mind-controlled iOS games in the world for sale on the App Store, which you control with concentration and relaxation. And I'm going to show you now one of our games, a zombie game, as Jörg was saying, which you control with your power of concentration. It's probably good. Steven's doing a great job here holding the camera. It'd probably be good to switch over to the camera on the display. Alex, thanks. Thanks very much. OK. Now, Alex was being much cleverer than me. He was waiting for my signal. I just thought it was going to switch, at some weird moment. Thanks. OK, so actually, let me go back for a sec so you know. This is one of the NeuroSky MindWave Mobile, as I was talking about earlier. And it does connect directly to the iPad's Bluetooth. OK, so this is a zombie game starring a gentleman zombie who really feels very strongly that zombies should stop eating people's brains like this. They should eat with spoons. So he even teaches etiquette classes to other zombies. But they don't really get it, frankly. And, so he's had a hard day teaching. And on the way home, he decides to cheer himself up by picking up a little snack. That would be you. OK, here we go. All right. So you wake up in a cell in his dining room. And he's in the kitchen getting dinner ready. He's setting the table. But you have the power, luckily, to bend spoons by concentrating. So I'm going to bend one here. You can see I have less concentration. The spoon stops bending. When I have more, Then the spoon bends. Now I have less again. More, less, come on. Okay, bending, concentrating in front of a lot of people is not my forte, but I'm just going to bend this guy. And what I'd like to do is ask for a couple of you to come up and try this if you're interested. Any volunteers? Okay, I see there was somebody with a flashy light up in the back. I don't know if that was a picture or a volunteer. Try again. Okay, there were a couple people over here I saw actually next, right? Maybe, you? Yes. Wow, how did you know who I was pointing to? I was like, how are you going to figure this out? And I'll take someone from this side to be fair. Okay, I'll take maybe you then. Yes. They teach you it's rude to point, and then you don't know how to point properly when you need to. Okay, so it sits behind your ear like this. By the way, I know that there's several others of you that have your hands up. If you want to find me this afternoon, we can do a one-on-one. Okay, come over here. So you see, right now what it's doing is saying Braintronic device is not functional, which I hate seeing that sign. What it means, though, is that it's not sitting correctly on his head yet, but it looks like, no, I would say don't, yeah, there you go. Okay, so you were right, you should have done it. Okay, so now, I should let you know that the demo gods and I are not on the best of terms usually, but okay, let's see. Yeah, there you go. So what can you do? Are you normally motivated by concentrating on things outside of yourself, or by concentrating on something inside? Well, it depends. So
Relax, or
for some people it helps to pay attention to the sound feedback or the visual feedback. I'll focus on the spoon. Sound seems to be helping you. Or you can think of something that's very interesting for you, you know, like, I don't know, Star Wars, Lord of the Rings, I don't know. No, it's good though. This is a good demo, because if you just came and bent everything, no, they would just think it was a film, you know. Memory that of some time that was very, I don't know, math problem. Yeah, something that would engage your concentration. Concentrating. Ah, that is the thing. Okay, sorry. Yes. No, it's going well. Come on, he's doing it in front of all of you guys. That's why I chose this one as an example instead of the relaxing. No, you're doing it. You almost have it. Oh, I think you may not make it, honestly. Oh, okay. Well, that was good. Well, he's happy anyway. Do we have enough time for you to try? I think so. Okay, thanks, Jörg. Oh, you're going to do it quick, huh? Okay.
did you have to imagine how I bent it?
Oh, no, it doesn't know what you're concentrating on. I mean, you can imagine it if it helps you. But you could also think of something completely different, you know? All right, let's get you back to the menu while the Braintronic device, all right. All the nice fingerprints on the iPad showing up there. Okay. Here you go. Now, it's not, after he tells you to concentrate, then you can, yeah, there you go. So you can also concentrate on, oh. I was going to say you could concentrate on, you know, the pattern of a spoon, and, you know, anything that. There you go. How you would get more points by having a higher concentration, which would cause the spoon to bend faster. But also the spoon's increase in difficulty. it looks like he could go on for hours. I don't know if we have hours, no? Okay, you want to do it? He says last one. Don't worry, folks. He only has a 45-second time limit or something on this one. Thanks very much. Well, thank you all very much. I'm going to leave the stage before he comes with his cane.
Thank you very much. I would like to ask you one question.
Oh, sure.
Because you demonstrated us some playful ways to deal with it, but I think you have a serious background in developing these games, isn't it?
Well, I guess it's not so much a serious background in game development on my part, but I do have a background in neuroscience, yes, and habit learning. And I like the idea of, and habits are you don't learn habits unless they're fun to learn.
No, but I think I was reading about something using these games for kids who have attention deficit orders, so that they can.
Yeah.
Maybe you can just give us.
Well, this is a direction we are moving toward. I'm not going to. What we'd like to do is to exactly to make these types of games for that purpose. What has to be established still is that using neurofeedback. That's the general name for the technique that we're using in our games. This feedback loop. Using neurofeedback as the primary or only game dynamic would lead to learning of relaxation and concentration, which would in turn help the ADHD symptoms. So that's something that takes a little while to prove,
Okay.
but it's something we're working on. Yes.
Excellent. Thank you so much.
Thank you.